Welcome back. Republicans came up big in some ways, but lost the governor's mansion by 3 points after polls showed a dead even tie. I talked to Republican analyst Joe Handrick earlier this week about why. What do you think the story of last night was? Is it split ticket voters? Is it eroding suburbs? Is it a combination? Is it something else?
Yes, all of the above. I think a lot of Republicans today, and probably a lot of Democrats too, feel like Wisconsin sports fans after a weekend where the Wisconsin Badgers win, but then the Packers lose. It's really a mixed bag. The good news, of course, for the Democrats was Governor Evers got reelected and Josh Kaul with him. The good news for the Republicans is they did win 2 statewide races, including the U.S. Senate, which could decide the actual balance of the U.S. Senate. And then, of course, in the state legislature, they picked up 3 seats. So I think the bottom line from last night is Wisconsin, for once and for all, let's settle the argument. Wisconsin is a purple state. It's not a red state. It's not a blue state. It's a purple state.
In terms of purple, though, I mean, I think the way I kind of see the state is entrenched color, right? I was expecting much closer. So where did those tens of thousands votes come from?
Well, what you say about Wisconsin being very red or very blue is very true. We have sort of segregated in Wisconsin into our corners, and Dane and Milwaukee counties are very blue. The northern and western and central part of the state has gotten redder and redder, but then there's the big suburbs outside of Milwaukee. Those are still red, but they're not nearly as red as they used to be. So what happened last night in the governor's race, and what I look at is how do Dane and Waukesha counties balance each other off? Democrats are going to win Dane. Republicans are going to win Waukesha. But what happened last night was Tony Evers did just as well and even better in Dane County than he did 4 years ago. But Tim Michels did not do as well as Scott Walker in Waukesha County 4 years ago. And that really, to me, is the cornerstone of what happened.
We always talk about Waukesha County as this big Republican stronghold, and it is. But in the same way that Dane County still produces tens of thousands of votes for Republicans, so does Waukesha, and the reverse for Democrats.
Right. A lot of people on the Republican side will say, well, we shouldn't really do much in Milwaukee County or Dane County because they're so blue, but they're also very big. And so it's a mistake for Republicans to write off those 2 large counties. Milwaukee County is very blue, but it also produces an incredible number of Republican votes. And what Democrats have figured out is they can't just ignore Waukesha County and let Republicans get 68, 70% there. They're competing there. They're driving those margins down. At some point, Republicans need to do a better job in Dane County of making inroads there. It's harder in Dane County, but in Milwaukee County, where you have a growing Latino community and a growing African-American community, there really are opportunities there for Republicans to do much more urban outreach.
What do you make of Ozaukee County? I was surprised by that one.
Well, Ozaukee County has had people sort of over the last 20 years moving out of the city up into the burbs and bringing some of their politics with them. It was trending a little less red and red every year, but really with Waukesha and Ozaukee County, what really tripped it to keep them from being the huge red counties they used to be was Donald Trump. When he arrived on the scene in 2016, that's when Republican numbers in the WOW counties really took a nosedive. And Scott Walker recovered a little bit in 2018, but then in 2020, Donald Trump did even worse in those suburban counties. And then that carried over to this year. And that's just not the suburban counties in Wisconsin. You see that in suburbia across the United States. I call it the Trump effect. Donald Trump is poison in suburban areas, but on the other hand, he helps Republicans increase their margins in rural areas. As we found out last night, all the rural areas added up together can't offset a bad night in Waukesha County.
What am I missing? What are the key things you're looking at that we haven't brought up yet?
I think the state treasurer race is very interesting. That's the most generic race on the ballot. And the Republican, John Leiber, won that race. And that shows you is that Republicans can win and do win statewide. And there were obviously a lot of Republicans who went to vote, but maybe because of the abortion ruling or other things, couldn't vote for Michels or didn't feel comfortable or voting for Attorney General. But when they got to the state treasurer's race, where suddenly abortion is just not going to be an issue, they went to their Republican roots, and the Republicans won that race. So Republicans can still be very competitive statewide, but I think it would be a mistake for Republicans to not recognize that the abortion decision this summer certainly did have an impact in Wisconsin.
Would Rebecca Clayfish have won last night?
I was always one of those before the primary that said that I thought Rebecca Clayfish was probably a better candidate from the standpoint of contrast. You want to draw a strong contrast with the opposition. So I thought, honestly, that she was a little bit stronger candidate. Evers' margin was impressive enough, though, that I can't say that Rebecca Clayfish would have won. And of course, we'll never know the answer to that.
Last question for you. What does your party have to do in 2024 to try to start winning back some of these statewide issues, right? What do Republicans have to change in Wisconsin to start appealing again, to start winning those suburbs back, to start countering that Dane County vote?
Well, for starters, they need to look to the future, not to the past. You look at what Ron DeSantis did in Florida, where the Republicans had trouble last night, were places in the country where they spent so much time questioning the results of the past election and not acknowledging that Donald Trump lost the election, but trying to come up with reasons why Donald Trump lost, conspiracy theories and other things. That's not what voters are looking for. Voters are looking for people that look to the future. So for starters, and to win back those people in the suburbs, I'd say we need candidates that aren't going to focus on things that simply aren't true, like China importing ballots on ships in bamboo crates, and Milwaukee dumping votes in the middle of the night that they just made up. None of those things are true, and that distracts from the Republicans' ability to communicate their message about issues and what they're going to do to help working families in the state, when so many people on the Republican side spent so much time and energy arguing over the last election instead of focusing on the next one.
And finally, just when you thought we were done with one election, there's another one to watch. Madison's mayoral race gets underway just ahead.